BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
What are you looking at? Not very convincing as the hard man, am I? Today's Match of the Day Top 10 is full of the kind of footballers you wouldn't want to meet in an alley. Talking of which, I'm joined by Alan Shearer, who always exudes a certain underlying menace, and the always charming Micah Richards, for whom butter wouldn't melt in his mouth. Welcome to Match of the Day Top 10, where today we're discussing the hardest men in football. Players you'd avoid in the tunnel and try to play nowhere near them on the pitch. Tough tacklers, red card specialists, never afraid of putting their head in where it hurts. As ever, our BBC Sport football colleagues have put together a shortlist for us to consider. And here it is. We've got, no surprise, Roy Keane, Patrick Vieira, Duncan Ferguson, Vinnie Jones, of course, David Batty, Jaap Stam, Nemanja Vidic, Julian Dix, Diego Costa and Stuart Pearce. Fantastic stuff. There's some great names in there. Some of them you wouldn't have played in, Micah, because you're right now our youngest on the panel. And Alan, you'd have played against quite a lot of them, but you're too old to have played against one or two of them.
Yeah.
As we always do, let's start with doing reverse order from 10 to 6. Let's start with you this week, Micah.
I'm going with Costa.
Costa.
Number 10. Obviously, I didn't play against Julian Dix, but I've watched some videos of him. Mm-hmm. Number 9, David Batty.
Batty.
At number 8, yep. The psycho that is Stuart Pearce.
7.
And Vieira.
Patrick Vieira.
As number 6.
OK, right. Let's start with Diego Costa. Quite the character, quite the personality. Obviously, we saw him play at Chelsea for a long time. He was a tough cookie, wasn't he?
He wasn't a tough cookie. It's a facade, that is. He definitely wasn't.
Shouldn't even be in
he shouldn't be in there, but, you know, I'm just settling in, so I don't want to make adjustments just yet. So Costa, I remember playing against Villa, and he kept niggling all game. And then I pulled him in the half-time.
What do you mean, in the tunnel or something?
In the tunnel. And I said, what are you doing? I said, if you want to scrap, I feel like I'm always scrapping, don't I? But I'm not that way inclined. Yeah. And he didn't want it. He didn't want it. It was just acting up. It was all an act for him. So he doesn't go there. He's number 10. Richard Dunn was tougher than him. Sylvan Diston, Kevin Nolan, and even Joey Barton were tougher than him. So I'm actually not happy he's on the list.
I'm surprised Joey Barton didn't get in there.
Yeah, but he was just nasty, wasn't he?
Well, he won you a league title.
I had to think then. I was thinking,
he got himself sent off.
Yeah, he got sent off. He got himself sent off. But I thought he would be on the list because he could have a scrap. Do you remember the story with Darbo in training?
Go on. Oh, do vaguely.
Yes.
Remind us.
So there was having a bit of Darbo said something to him in French. You know what they say, putain, or whatever it is. Yeah. And then Joey said, if you say that again, I'm going to crack you. So he said it again. He waited for Darbo to be turned and he gave him a crack. And then on the floor, which was horrible, but he could fight. Yeah. He really could. And he had that incident in Liverpool, didn't he, as well? When
he's had one or two.
He's had a few. So I thought he'd be in there. Costa, yeah.
Yeah, well, while we're on the subject of Joey Barton, he played for you for a little while.
Yeah, he played for about an hour.
Real career.
Yeah.
At Anfield, wasn't it?
At Anfield, yeah.
We've discussed this before, but it's worth repeating for those.
Well, it was disappointing because we had Nicky Butt and Kevin Nolan in midfield, who were great lads, brilliant professionals, but they didn't have a lot of legs left, and we needed legs in the midfield. And Joey was injured for the first 4 games of me being the manager. And then with 4 games to go, we're due to play Liverpool on the Saturday, and said to him earlier in the week, how's things going? You're training with the first team. I'm thinking of putting you in there. Yeah, don't put me in. Definitely won't let you down, Gaffer, he said. So I said, well, let's wait to see how training goes. And training went really well, and decided to to put him in the team. And we were getting battered off Liverpool. Hit the post, hit the bar, getting beaten 3-0, should have been 7 or 8. And I was about to take him off with about 5 minutes to go. But in front of the cop, he decides to scythe Xavi Alonso down. Straight red card. So I had him for, an hour. And then that was it. It was a huge...
the next 2 games.
Couldn't play the last 3 games, suspended. Huge fight in the dressing room. I never seen him again.
Who won the fight? We separated.
He's fighting with himself, actually. Actually, I would agree with you on
Costa.
On Costa.
Really?
I don't think he was a hard guy. I think he was more of a pest and a nuisance.
Yes.
And he just irritated everyone. That's the way he was. I mean, he could play. There's no doubt about it. But I wouldn't say he was a hard man.
Julian Dix, you've got in there at 9. Did you say you probably...
I watched some
he's
tackles.
Before your time.
I watched some tackles.
Oh,
he looked quite horrible, to be honest.
He could get...
But he probably would have went further down the list, but because I didn't play against him, he's just slipped in at 9. But some of the videos from the olden days, the stuff that you could do,
Evil tackles, wasn't it?
It was
you
just
had to
horrible.
commit grievous bodily harm to get a yellow card.
Do you remember Ben Thatcher's elbow on Mendes?
Yeah.
Oh, that was... It brought it back to them memories there when watching them videos of him back then. It's just like they could get away with murder.
Yeah.
So that's why he slipped in at number 9.
I've got him a lot lower than that.
Yeah.
I mean, I played against him a few times, Julian Dix, and he was how should we put it? Different. He was I mean, you're right, Micah, in the tackles that some of the tackles that he put in. Some of the tackles that he put in were designed to hurt someone. They were there definitely with intent.
Yeah.
As I'm sure we'll mention that a few times when we go down the list of some of these players on there, but some of his tackles were horrible, Julian Dix, and I've actually got him at number 2.
Oof.
I'm
I'm surprised not in that list. Maybe because he's a bit before all of your time in many ways. It was Souness. Oh, I mean, I told the story the other week about when he did me at Anfield, but he was brutal, wasn't he? He's an unbelievably good footballer, but my goodness, he was nasty on the pitch.
He was horrible, wasn't he? I mean, some of the tackles that he had,
He'd
GBH,
happily go right over the top. Right over the top.
Was he just a warrior, was he?
He wasn't like a warrior, but he was just like...
Horrible.
Just right over, one of those right over the ball, just with no intent whatsoever, just... makes me shiver even now.
I could name a few that could have, should have been in there. But in terms of the Premier League...
Yeah, exactly. That's true, it's Premier League, isn't it?
When I first started off in football, Mick Hartford, Mark Dennis, we mentioned at Southampton. Yeah. Jimmy Case was one of the hardest guys around. I was lucky enough to share a dressing room with him, and most players were petrified of Jimmy Case. To sort of have him on my side or our side as a youngster at Southampton, you could see the fear in some of the players' eyes that going against him, and the respect that they had for him. Billy Whitehurst. Remember Billy Whitehurst as well?
Crikey, Billy Whitehurst was evil, but that was way back.
Billy Whitehurst?
I ain't got a clue. I ain't got a clue.
Kenny Burns.
Yeah.
I played for Leicester against Birmingham, right? And they've got a corner or a free kick or something. It's at the other end of the pitch anyway. The ball is at the other end of the pitch. I'm just stood there on the halfway line like I often was, watching things transpire at the other end of the field. Kenny Burns is next to me. Just perfect, minding my own business. And all of a sudden, it's like, bosh, with the elbow, straight in the temp. I went down. It was like, I'm just lying on the floor thinking, what's happened here? What? Why? It's aggressive.
And anyway, he just did it for no reason?
For no reason. I mean, I never heard anyone.
I don't like that. That's a coward doing it. That's a coward.
No, a coward is the person who's lying on the floor doesn't want to get up because he might hit me again.
Back when Gary and I were playing, I mean, what was said in the dressing room was make sure you get the first dig in.
Yeah.
Really?
And you could tackle then. You were allowed, as a defender...
You could have 3 free hits.
You would have allowed a couple of free hits before you got a yellow card. I mean, they would come through you in the first 15 or 20 minutes.
We played Arsenal. Any time you played Arsenal, Adams, Bowl, Keown, all that,
Horrible.
and I in the tunnel before the game, I made a point of every time I got up to the referee, and I'd just say, listen, they're going to boot us in the first fight. They'll just absolutely kick us to bits. I said, if you don't stamp down on them early on with a card, I said, it'll go on all day. So just try and put it in their mind. Rarely worked, but it was worth trying.
Just because,
But the thing is about Adams and Bolden, you could hear them coming. So it's not like I was scared of them or you get hurt. Because just as the balls come up, whenever you come, you make sure you get your legs off the ground.
Yeah.
You're just a little hot because, the problem is if you're rooted and then kick you through. But I didn't mind the big hard men. It's the little nasty hard men that were quick. They were worse. A guy called Pietro Viecovod who played for Sampdoria in Italy. Yeah. Ooh, he was like rapid, but also evil. And he was small, but it was a bad combination. Really bad combination. But anyway, so right, 8. Well, you've got David Batty in 8. Alan obviously knows him very well. He's a teammate.
I got David Batty again. He was at Leeds, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So you used to hear the stories of being a hard man. I watched some videos of him. Some of his tackles are brutal as well, weren't they? And didn't he have something where he wouldn't accept his Premier League medal or something because he feels like he'd not?
Yeah, because he was injured at Blackburn. He didn't feel as if he'd contributed enough to the season because he'd been out injured for most of the season.
Yeah, but a couple of scraps with his own teammates.
Yeah, he had one with Graham Lasso in Moscow.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was -10. We got beaten 3-0, freezing cold, terrible night. Ray Harford was our manager, and I think for whatever reason Graham Lasso didn't pass to him, and Bats called him a name or something, and they both went each other.
What was the name?
It was they both come. I couldn't. It's twice it happened to me on a pitch.
Too. I'm going to say I've never experienced that in my whole career. Players fighting from their own team on the pitch with their teammate. Have you had that anywhere?
No. But I've had the manager and Balotelli. Mancini, did you see the pictures of that on the training ground? That was a training ground, though.
Training ground,
That was like a full-on scrap because we had the training ground round, but it was a public footpath. Yeah. So the press always used to be there.
With something like that, there's a temptation, isn't there? The players try and get in the middle to break it up, but actually sometimes you just let's leave it.
Because you wanted to see it. There were so many stories with Balotelli and Mancini, like stuff that I can't even tell you. Do you know what I mean? I literally...
Yeah,
I can't, but something happened. There was someone was in trouble and Balotelli got the blame, but it wasn't his fault. So we're on the bus after a game now. Mancini's like, "Testa di cazzo," he's swearing in Italian. And he's gone up to Balotelli, they're literally like throwing punches, and everyone's like dropping her. You bring in, because something happened outside. I'm trying to tell the story without saying who it was. Yeah. Which is difficult. And Balotelli got the blame, and it wasn't him. And you just see the person, who was it? It was bright red. Yeah. And like Balotelli's getting all this stick, and he had nothing to do. Any story that came up, Balotelli got the blame. Any story. And
it's always good to have someone like that at a club, isn't it?
Oh, Balotelli. And to be fair, Balotelli just took it. He took it for his mate, which was really good.
Who was his mate?
I can't tell you.
Yeah, but you've not told us what he did wrong, so of course you can tell us.
Well, yeah, I can't tell you. You'll connect the dots if I tell you.
All right, okay.
But yeah, that's the only scraps I had in the team: Mancini and Balotelli.
Yeah. Batty?
Yeah, Batty. I mean, he was the original one in midfield who made that position, sat in front of the back four.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about was it Makelele and players like that who sit and defend and give you that protection. He was brilliant at it. He could play, touch, range of passing. But I always got the impression with Bats is that he didn't really love football. And you could never accuse him of not giving his all. He always did. He was last into training, first away. He used to turn up in his training kit. Sometimes didn't have a shower afterwards, jump in his car and away. Wow. He was one of these guys that never needed to stretch off. He used to come and ping balls within 10 seconds of walking onto a training pitch, which I could never do.
Well, Alan Hansen always used to be one of those players. He'd just be in the dressing room and he said my pre-match routine was to read the programme. He said I'd stand up just before you go out to play. He said, reached down,
Yeah.
touched my toes. He said, I'd go out and play. And I think,
It's crazy.
do that.
Unbelievable.
Do
But
that.
he was a great lad, Bats. Great to have in your team. I was with him at Blackburn and at Newcastle, and he won the league, didn't he? At Leeds as well, didn't he? I think he won the
He was
league
part
at,
of that team. Wasn't he?
at Leeds,
McAllister in midfield.
He was a very, very good player.
Yeah, he certainly was. Right,
Could certainly mix it.
at 7, Stuart Pearce. Were you together any?
Yeah, Stuart Pearce. He gave me my debut.
He gave you your debut, yeah.
Give me my debut. I would if I would have had him further down the list, but because he was so good to me, I seen the good side.
see that hard
I didn't see the whole. I watched some of
I
the
felt the hard side of
Did
Stuart
you?
Pearce on occasions, yeah.
But he just had that. You know, he had it in him. He was actually quite a nice guy. But when he come in and you've not been running, hell, Sam, make sure you start running, or you'll be off. And you just see, the psycho. You don't have name psycho if you're not a psycho. And he's spoken. So once he's spoken, he's like,
He was. I bumped into him last week. He's doing a documentary for Terry Venables. Funny, I'm talking about Terry Venables and Stuart Pearce came in. Yeah, and I hadn't seen him for years, and he was obviously my time. Played with England together and all this. And one of my favourite moments was Euro '96 when he took that penalty, having missed one in the game that I played in Italia '90. I might have tear in my eye when he knocked that in.
For someone who was so hard, tough and could tackle, that I bet you one of the hardest things and the bravest things was stepping up to take that penalty
was one
against
of the most
Spain. It was, wasn't
correct,
it? Yeah.
and he scored, and it was like
the relief.
I think the whole when he stepped forward, everyone's going,
Yeah.
oh my God, Stuart Pearce is... not because you thought he'd miss, but please score.
Yeah.
Don't let this happen to him again. Please don't. And when he scored, and he just...
Yeah, it was huge relief, wasn't it?
And I know Stuart really well. I mean, he was a quiet soul, but he was tough. I mean,
His thighs,
he's
big
everything.
boots,
He's a
thighs
brilliant left back as well. Up and down, he'd cuff balls, he'd take free kicks and all this. But he wasn't a guy who was always laughing and stuff. He was very kind of dour, you know. And he'd say, I hardly ever saw him like laugh or smile. But we played one game at Forest away, and I always used to have this. Cloughie always used to put Des Walker man to man, which used to drive him mad. So I used to go and stand next. I'd take him out to Stuart Pearce and say, right now, what are you going to do and all this. So we always had this kind of bit of banter between us. Anyway, one time I saw him laugh. They had a free kick about 25 yards out, and I was in the wall, which I never really enjoyed very much, especially if Stuart Pearce is taking. And he does this long run up, and he absolutely blasted it, got me straight in the nuts. So I'm down like that. And as I'm lying down like this, Pearcey comes over and he just looks at the crowd and he starts going, he starts doing like a Micah Richards laugh. It's the only time I think I've ever seen him smile.
Shorts rolled up as well. Show his thighs
as big as yours.
He used to do it in training though. Come and take free kicks and all that.
Yeah.
Like at his son, getting top bin.
Yeah, he could hit it. He could hit it. Court, blimey, could strike a ball with that left foot. Yeah, he was...
play as well, look.
Exactly. Yeah, it was great. It was a great play.
Very good.
Right, 6, Patrick Vieira. You know, one of the greats, and always that great rivalry with Roy Keane as well.
He was horrible.
In those days.
He was horrible. He was the nicest horrible man you meet. That's what he was. He was like
the nicest horrible man.
He was like elegant, he's smiling, but as soon as you get on the training ground, it's disgusting, horrible. Like when you talk about them tackles, he's always down your shins. I used to say to him like I was starstruck when I met him, like because I was Arsenal.
And that would be in training
where
as well.
Did you meet? Where did you meet him?
So he came to Man City, didn't he?
Of course he did.
Came to Man City. So I'm like in awe. This is Vieira.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I've gone from loving you to hating you within the space of a day of meeting you. It was just.
Said that to him,
I actually said that to him. But like off the field, he was such a nice person. He just turned into some.
And he was the same in training, was he? He was equally competitive.
Horrible. Yeah. Like 2-footed tackles. He had, he had more ability than people give him credit for. He could play. Of course he could. He could play. Footballer. People just think he was a destroyer, but he could play. But when he came to City, he couldn't move. Yeah. So he was just his long legs. He was horrible to play against. Yeah. Absolutely disgusting.
Superb talent.
Oh, what a player! Yeah, I think he's he was unbelievable. His touch, his range of passing, his energy to get up and down. I mean, he was a huge driving force in that midfield for Arsenal. What a player!
Yeah. Al, give me your 10 to 6, please.
I've gone Diego Costa 10.
Yeah, both of you gone 10. He's an absolute lightweight.
I've gone Jaap Stam 9.
9, yeah.
I've gone Vinnie Jones 8.
Ooh, low. Vinnie Jones. I thought Vinnie Jones would be a lot higher than that. But
7 David Batty.
Yeah.
And 6 Stuart Pearce.
Well, we've talked about those two already. We talked about Costa already. Jaap Stam. Did you play against?
Yeah.
Yeah, you must have done, yeah.
Yeah. Got very little from him. Strong, quick,
Yeah.
tough as. Didn't give hardly anything away. I'm not sure I would describe him as a really hard man, but I'd describe him as a really good player.
Yeah.
Certainly give as good as he got anyway.
Yeah.
I think it was just the size of him, wasn't it? You know, he had them eyes. When he looked at you, when I see him playing against people, like...
What eyes did he have, Mike?
Just them piercing, horrible, disgusting, like... You know, like when someone looks at you, you look away because you don't want to make eye contact with them because you just think you
do that with everyone.
It could go. But yeah, I agree with Alan. He was a top player.
Yeah.
You know, he's one of them players that you think, wow, how can he be so big? But sometimes he was elegant on the ball. He was always in the right position. He was a top
Did
player.
anyone ever say to you, you know, I mean, certainly in my time when I was being brought up as a kid, I said before about make sure you don't disappoint, get the first kick in, or did anyone ever say to you when you...
Stuart Pearce.
Did he?
That was the one.
And any of your managers?
Just Stuart Pearce.
Piercy.
Just Piercy. Because it changed, didn't it?
I hate going back and saying in our day and all that nonsense because I think in many ways the game is terrific now for a variety of reasons. One of the things that annoys me, I don't know about you now, is that this thing about everything is a free kick.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
You just nudge someone and they go, and now because they know they're going to get free kick, they go on the floor and the screaming thing. Well, that's, you know, whatever you think about that, but it's means the game stops all the time. It doesn't flow anymore. Somebody nudges, free kick. And whilst I really applaud the fact that they clamped down on serious foul play and started to give yellow cards out, because I think that made the game so much better. People like Diego Maradona in his day just got kicked out of it in the early stages, whereas now you can't do that. So the likes of Messi and the glorious footballers we see can thrive. But this business, they've taken away the aspect that it is a physical contact sport.
Well, I remember, you remember John Burridge, the goalkeeper?
Oh, yeah.
When I was at Southampton as a youngster, and he was a great lad, but he was a lunatic, nice lunatic, in a nice way. As I've gone in training and we're having a practice match, and I've gone through one-on-one, it was a 50-50, and he's coming out to get the ball, and I've pulled out of the tackle because it was training, and he's got up and he was raging. He had me up like that as a youngster, and I'm thinking, what? I've actually pulled out of the tackle for him. He's looking me in the eyes, going, "Don't you ever disappoint." And I thought, disappoint? I said, I expect you to hurt me in the challenge. I'm thinking, my
I can't remember
God, what?
who it was, but somebody told me a story about Budgie Burridge, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Budgie Burridge. Somebody told me a story that they roomed with him or something. He's like insane. And he said he was in bed or something, and he's got the sheets, and then he's pulled the sheets off, and he's gone, and there's a football, he said, "Throw some balls at me." He'd come out with his goalie's gloves on. Have you heard that?
It was an apple or an orange.
Apple, I would say an apple.
It was an apple or an orange.
You that told me that story. I can't remember.
I think it was Tim Flowers was at Southampton with John Burridge, and that's what he used to say. He said at night time he used to make him, because he was his room partner, take an apple or an orange. He said, and he said, make sure unexpectedly you just got to chuck it. And he said, you give him a second, right? And he said he was ready. He was like that, ready to have the apple or the orange.
We need to do that in the green room, don't we?
Yeah, he was. That's what he did to me when I was a youngster. Don't disappoint.
I had a keeper, Mark Wellington, like that. He used to help me so much I used to have discussions about how to finish against keepers and what they would do and stuff like that. But he was a funny guy. He did things like that. If you're playing in a game at the ground, you know, when the ball goes behind nowadays, obviously the crowd throw it back, where they used to then. And he'd go up to them and pretend to catch it and then do that thing where it bumped off his biceps and keep going to the goal. He did the thing about the goal kick. He'd take a goal kick, he'd put it on the 6-yard box, he'd go back. into the goal. You know, he used to run into the goal and they'd put their hands on the net, and then he'd go to take it and he'd go all over in the back of the net. He'd do things like that. He's
brilliant.
such a great guy. He's a teacher now as well. So
Is he?
things, yeah. If he's
You know
not,
who
if
I
he's
would
not
have had?
retired,
I would have had in this list as hard man. I would have had Mark Hughes in there.
Ooh.
Oh God, Mark. Sparky was tough.
Sparky, maybe on the pitch, but off the
he's
pitch,
soft.
he didn't like the confrontation.
No.
You know, if he wasn't playing, he'd go in and I'm like, Gaffer, what's happening? And he had Mark Bowen, who was this little pit bull, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I'm like, calm. I remember one time in training, what was happening? Like, it was in a meeting, and he goes, oh, why are you laughing? I'm like, so I'm looking around like, who's laughing? And then Mark Bowen's like, oh, you? I'm like, I'm not laughing. You know, like, he was taking it up. He was taking
You're always laughing.
Yeah, that's my problem. I'm always like, I'll get the blame. I'm like, Balotelli, like, I'll get the blame. And then, like, I remember not playing for a couple of games just because he thought I was laughing. So I'd go see him. I'm like, Gaffer, I can shot. We had cameras. So he had footage. See, I wasn't laughing. So he was trying to take it out on me.
Yeah.
But Mark Bowen. But when I went to go confront him, he was too soft. He was
gentle.
He was one of the nicest guys ever.
You had players. I mean, again, it's Southampton. Francis Benali at Southampton.
Oof,
one of the
tough.
nicest, quietest, well-spoken
Look
guys.
what he's done as well with his charity work.
Yeah,
He's just
unbelievable
amazing.
charity work now that he's doing.
Yeah.
But once he got onto a football pitch, he would have no thoughts about snapping you in two. He would just do it. He turned into a different animal once he got onto a football pitch. But off the pitch, wow, just such a nice lad.
Yeah. Shall I tell you, I think one of the toughest players ever, and I'll tell you exactly why. It's Neil Lennon, because only Neil Lennon would headbutt.
Can you believe
Shearer's
that?
boot.
How stupid was that, him doing that? Remember the picture? We got him in here, David Batty, afterward, when Lennon went down, when he headbutted my foot. He was on the ground and Bats went to lift him off the pitch, didn't he? David Batty, there's a picture on the video where he grabs his legs and sort of tries to drag him off the pitch.
No, when was this?
He actually kicked his head.
I got that.
It was at Filbert Street, wasn't it?
At Filbert Street, yeah. He was given his dog's abuse during the game. And I've kicked out and... Yeah, I've kicked out.
I've kicked out while his head
Didn't know
was
his
on the
head was
ground.
there. It's not one of my prouder moments.
We all have those moments of... Right, where were we? Alan, at 8, which is... I thought he'd be a lot lower than that, is one Vinnie Jones, who is, I suppose, your quintessential hard man, isn't he? Didn't have a lot else to his game except being a hard man and a long throw.
Yeah.
I mean, he's quite the character, quite the personality.
He's definitely a character, yeah. I mean, for what he did with his career, I mean, at one time, what was he, a brickie or odd carry or something like that, wasn't it? So to get where he did and do what he did in football was remarkable. And sort of sums him up, I think. Yeah. But there was some pretty evil, disgusting challenges he put in.
And sometimes, didn't he do one after about 3 seconds of a game where he got the fastest yellow card
He
ever?
went straight in and side someone down. Yeah. Was it Steve McMahon?
I think Steve McMahon wasn't that in the FA Cup final?
FA Cup final,
It was a brutal challenge. I'm not sure that was the first seconds, but there was definitely some unbelievable challenge. And obviously he's grabbed the odd superstar by the nuts.
Gaza, great picture, iconic picture that is, isn't it? Yeah, we can see Gaza.
Yeah.
How was he as a player though? Was he not?
Let's say he wasn't cultured.
Okay.
It was that old Wimbledon style, aggressive. He had a long throw.
That was it. I watched the videos of him. He was just on
Chelsea as well.
Yeah, he had a good career.
Yeah.
I mean,
him and Wisey in midfield.
Wisey, I played with England as well.
Yeah.
Wisey was. He was tidy though. He could. He could play a bit. Yeah. He was tough and compromising, but he could also play and keep it. He was a good footballer, but yeah. But
does that make you a hard man if you can go and scythe someone down? Then does it?
Well, it's kind of I don't know. What is a hard man? There, by definition, how do we describe? Is it someone that's tough when the pressure's on? Because or is it someone that is actually just a nasty piece of work? What is it? Hard man.
Yeah, but nasty piece of work's more coward to me. Like they give it all the big one, and then when it comes to it, someone like Robbie Savage, he's a coward, isn't he? It is like a little chihuahua, isn't it? Barking, and then when it comes to it, he's a great lad, but he's a coward.
Do you think he's a coward?
I think
That's quite a statement.
I think he's a coward.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure he'll confront you with that.
Dion Dublin, wasn't it? Dion Dublin.
He's either a chihuahua or a Shih Tzu.
Shih Tzu, yeah, definitely. He'd be a coward, savage for me.
Yeah, okay. Well, he's not in the top 10.
Yeah.
That's why. Right, Alan, give me your 5-1.
5-1. I've gone Patrick Vieira 5.
Yep.
I've gone Nemanja Vidic 4.
Yep.
Roy Keane 3.
Ooh, 3. Mm-hmm. Right, okay.
Julian Dix 2.
Yeah.
And
Duncan
I've gone
Ferguson.
big Duncan Ferguson as 1.
Give me yours, Micah, now as well, so we get
I
together.
had Roy Keane, number 5.
Right.
Vidic.
Roy's going to be really disappointed.
I know, yeah. No, tell me about it.
Yeah.
He won't listen to this anyway.
I don't think he'll be bothered.
I know, yeah.
Might send him it. Go on.
Vidic, number 4.
4, yeah.
Yap Stam,
3.
the piercing eyes, number 3.
Yeah.
Vinnie Jones, because of the videos I watched, horrible.
Yeah, 2.
Duncan's my number.
Both got Duncan Ferguson at number 1. We'll come to that at 5. We've got Vieira. Roy Keane, you're only 5. Why only 5th? Because Roy Keane is obviously... I mean, he's a fearsome individual that you now work with, or is he far worse than his bite, Mike? I mean, I've seen you...
No, he does. I watch the videos because a couple of these are before my time.
Yeah, all right. You've made
the
that
reason
clear
why,
a few times.
The reason why he slipped down to number 5 because Duncan Ferguson, I was watching clips of him, and Stam and Keane walked away from a confrontation. Yeah. So I was like, ooh, how hard are you really then?
Yeah.
And yeah, you've seen the size of Big Dunk.
I would walk away from a confrontation.
I know,
Big
yeah,
Dunk
but
as well.
everyone did though. I was thinking, he's the ultimate hard man because no one wants smoke with him. No. That's what the young guys say, smoke. No one wants smoke. Yeah, no one wants smoke with Duncan Ferguson. So Roy let me down, to be honest.
Use that expression.
Yeah, smoke. I don't want smoke.
With my lads when I get home.
He'll know.
Don't want any smoke with me.
Yeah, I don't want any smoke. But Roy Keane, he let me down, to be honest, because I'm thinking everyone's talking about, he's a hard man.
He's nice as pie. Go on, tell us he's nice as pie. Come on,
I'll smile. It's all
you on the
reputation.
You laugh at him and you poke a bit of fun and this and that and the other, because not many people actually do that on TV. You've done that. And
he's nice with me.
Yeah.
But
do you think he's a bit scared of you because you're like twice the size?
I think that's what I'm saying. He sees Big Dunk in me, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But
maybe you should be on that list of hard men.
I definitely, I can't believe I'm not on there. How far back we go? But yeah, Roy Keane,
how's he like to work with? Seriously?
Is he? No, he's amazing.
Yeah, he's box office television. There's no doubt about that.
Even working with you guys, I've only just retired. Growing up with Shearer and Lineker, all the videos you see, you lot are top.
Black and white videos.
Well, yeah, black and white.
Video? We're not even in the DVD
No, you're the DVD.
We're in the videos.
You're the video. Cassette players and all that.
Hang on, he's the video and I'm the DVD.
Okay, you're the DVD. And then Roy Keane.
He's on the 16th fairway.
Oh, don't stop. We had this discussion, right? We're in the Match of the Day office on last weekend. And we're sat there and we've got the football on and we've got the players talking, watching the golf stuff. And he's gone, hey, he said, you know what? He said, you're on the 16th, aren't you? And I said, what do you mean? Like you're 16th, you're towards the end of your life. Hang on a minute. I mean, I've had the expression sometimes you say you've reached the back nine and your second half of your life. But the 16th, and then he said, you're not even on the 16th tee, you're on the 16th green. And I said, I mean, it's absolutely, we had this whole thing, we'd spent the next 20 minutes talking about where we are on in relevance to a golf course. And it was like,
that is spicy though, that is very spicy.
Depressing, that's what that is.
That is very spicy.
The football wasn't great that day.
It's the one time I hope I 3 putt just to keep it going a little bit longer. So, no, anyway, you're telling us about...
so you guys are legends of the game. And Roy's Roy's in that category as well, isn't he?
Oh, unquestionably.
So, like, when he initially going to work with someone, I don't get nervous. I never get nervous, but you've got respect for people. Yeah. That's the way it should be. So I was sort of seen, because I watch his clips and whatnot, and he destroys people left, right, and centre.
Was there a part of you thinking, Christ, he's quite intimidating to work with? Or?
No, I wanted to feel him out, because the first ever clip we was talking about. I said I burst on a scene, didn't I, as a defender. Yeah. That's what went viral. Yeah. And he shook me. I said, I don't know the defender that's burst on a scene. Then I said, hold on. Youngest ever defender for England, won the Premier League, won the FA Cup. And at that moment there, he was like, oh.
Medals on the table.
He was like, okay. He come back at me then. Yeah. He come back. So I earned his little bit of respect then. And after that, it was just, I just loved working with him, because I can never compete with Roy Keane as a player or his medals, but I can make you feel uncomfortable on camera. And then, you know what I mean? And that's my strength. Yeah. You know, I try to bring the positive side in people, and he doesn't want to see people to see that positive side. Yeah. So I just, every time I want it, I just wind him up. Wind him up. But you see how it can end. You see with Jamie Redknapp, the story why he was so angry, because he was driving down to London, but he was late. Well, he wasn't late, but he normally gets there about an hour and a half before. But he was stuck in traffic, and he only got 20 minutes. You see his hair was all ruffled, his suit was all... And Jamie Redknapp just got his anger, because he was going to be, you know, he was an hour later than he was supposed to be, so he got the wrath. That was it.
The wrath of Roy.
Yeah.
Well, I've had my battles with him over the years.
He's actually a player that I played against. Did you? Yeah, FA Cup final '91. He was in the Forest side. Played against him once or twice. He was very young and up and coming, but you could see even then he was a bit special. Real talent and obviously tough.
Yeah, I mean, he had that. There was that challenge on Haaland, wasn't it?
Awful that was. That was. I mean, he did have that. I mean, that was brutal.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Is that hard? Is that?
Well, it's harder than never tackling anyone.
It's a
I don't know what the definition of it.
And all these players on this list would have put in a terrible tackle or two or three at some stage. But I mean,
would you describe yourself as a hard man? Because I'd say you were pretty uncompromising.
No, I wasn't. I just give as good as I got.
Well, that's hard, isn't it?
I mean, people always go on about tackles or using your elbow or whatever, but they never mention when defenders come crashing into the back here to side you down after 10 or 15 minutes. And as we've spoken about earlier about getting the first tackle in, but I only give as good as I got. I
thought one of the Arsenal back 4 or 5, whatever you want, would have been in.
We thought of putting Keane in, but then we thought again. We couldn't have Martin Keown in hard men, could we?
Could have had Tony Adams, though, couldn't you?
Definitely could have had Tony Adams in, yeah, he was very
put in Adams for Costa. Costa's.
OK, well, it's a bit late.
It's a good job we didn't pick the list.
Well, we don't. We want to make that clear as well. We don't pick the list, because don't blame us for leaving people out. But you will anyway. 100%. You will anyway, but that's fine. It's only a bit of fun. Right, you've both got at number 4, Nemanja Vidic, obviously super successful at Manchester United, great partnership with Rio Ferdinand.
Yeah, he was just...
one of those central defenders you looked up to?
He looked up to, he just kept it very simple. He wasn't great on the ball. You had Rio Ferdinand for that, more elegant on the ball. But he just did his job and did it. What, he'd come for 5-6 million, something like that. He was just a snippet, and he just did all the hard yards. Like John Terry, wasn't he? John Terry put his head where the ball's going to be, and he just did his job. I had a couple of tunnel bust-ups with him, but...
Did you?
Nothing...
Is that a regular occurrence for you, it seems?
It depends on
have you got, I mean, I know you're obviously... You've got the big laugh and stuff, but have you also... Do you get the red mist?
It comes now and then. I don't like losing. Or if I've had a bad game, I'm a bit spoiled like that. And I try to use my size to my advantage, but... Yeah, with Vidic, I think it was more, you had a bit more respect for him. You always want to show someone that you're not scared of him. Yeah. And because I was quite big, people was always scared of me. Yeah. But, I just respected him because he was a top player. But he was playing for the Reds, so you never liked the Reds, do you? You never liked the Reds.
I think he was one of these guys that probably would never walk away from a battle, would never walk away from a fight because of where he was from, how he was brought up. And he had that hard look about him, Vidic, didn't he? Is that? Yeah. I think he wouldn't have shirked anything.
Yeah, those Serbians and the Yugoslavs, and he played against a tough, uncompromising race, hard as nails. Yeah. Right, number 3. Well, Alan, you went Roy Keane. We've discussed him already. Yap Stan we discussed previously. So Vinnie Jones at your 2. So we've done that one. Julian Dix. We come to number 1. Which is, again, you both agree, Duncan Ferguson. You wouldn't have played against Duncan Ferguson. Alan, you would.
I played against him and I played with him. I was at Newcastle with...
Oh, you were there together?
With Big Dunk.
He was there, wasn't he? Yeah. And?
Do you know when someone just has an aura about them?
Yeah.
He just had something.
Presence.
A presence that when he walked in, the size of him. And he had this reputation and he just didn't disappoint. I mean, you speaking about someone's stare, or would they just give you a look? I mean, if looks could kill, he could kill you with a look.
Yeah.
And I don't know anyone in the game that probably didn't and doesn't think that about him, because you could see the fear in defenders' eyes standing in the tunnel. I mean, for me to go into battle with him alongside me was magnificent, because I think most of defenders were petrified to go near him because they didn't know what.
And were they justified in thinking that way?
Yeah.
Could he hurt people?
He could fight with the best of them. He could tackle with the best of them.
He could elbow with the best of them.
Yeah, he could do all of that. And he was, I mean, in the air, he was unplayable in the air. And I tell you what a good player he was. What a player. His touch, some of the goals he scored, I remember he scored an unbelievable volley on the half-turn against Man United at St James's Park when we played together. He was the hardest, yeah. He would be frightened of nothing or frightened of no one. And if there was one house you don't want to burgle, it was Big Dunk's.
I'm just going to ask you about that. Is that true?
He actually dragged the burglar back into his house or his garden and kept hold of him until the police came. The burglar could not have known he was burgling Big Duncan's house.
No chance.
Because
he'd be
how stupid.
What was he thinking?
He must have. I mean, can you imagine a burglar and Big Dunk's chasing you and gets hold of you, and you must think, what the have I done?
That is brilliant.
I mean, it was.
I don't know though, but I mean, I've enjoyed his time at Everton, being number 2 for a while, and also that brief period when he was actually manager of the side, and now how he is with Ancelotti, and you can see he's got a real soft side as well. We've seen that, haven't we? He's
a really, really nice guy. And I mentioned some of the guys.
The hard ones are.
At Southampton. One I forgot to mention, who's also Scottish, was Joe Jordan.
Jeez, Joe Jordan.
And that's what Big Dunk sort of reminded me of Joe Jordan. I mean,
did he have something with Gattuso? Was it?
Yeah.
Yes. Right,
that's
right.
right.
It was up against each other heads. Yeah. That's what I remember.
Was it Spurs? Was it when he was with Harry?
Yes.
That'd be a good scrap, wouldn't it? Gattuso and Jordan.
But yeah, Big Dunk was a fearsome character.
Yeah, I had Big Dunk as well, just from the videos and how big he is. Yeah. Like I said before, Stan walked away from him, Keane walked away. You just know. Yeah. I'm surprised Company didn't get a shout in there. I know he was, I guess, a nice guy as well.
Yeah,
but
that's probably why, because he seems such a...
He was horrible company.
He was bad company, was he? Well, he just wouldn't talk to you.
He just honestly, he was horrible. Like, he used to get away with murder, his tackles and that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He was just... that's what I mean. Everyone thought he was some nice guy on the pitch.
Did he? Some nasty ones.
Yeah. Like 2-footers and everything. But then he'd pick you up, are you okay?
In a nice way.
You know, they speak, okay. But yeah, Big Dunk has got to be number 1.
Yeah.
He just... Again, we talked about the eyes. He's got them eyes. You just wouldn't mess with him. Yeah. Not a chance. Spoke to the Everton lads as well. Leighton Baines said he's a real nice person. So, yeah, Big Dunk gets the number 1.
Do you think hard men are a thing of the past? In the sense of the way the game has changed?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at that list now, I mean, if you go right throughout that list now, as I've said about some of I mean, a lot of those guys there...
Would have to change the game completely.
Yeah, I mean, they would still be great players, as we've said, but they would have to change. I mean, they couldn't. There's no way they would get away with some of the stuff, some of the tackles. What they could do then, do now, there's no chance.
Good job we just did the Premier League. We could have gone into the likes of Shearer and stuff. Do you have best fight on a football pitch?
Best fight?
Yeah, best fight on a football pitch was definitely Diego Maradona. Have you seen that?
No.
The Barcelona one?
I've not seen that, man.
Seen it? After...
Oh, is that when he was flying kicking?
Oh,
is
flying
that
kung fu kicks and everything.
Yes,
yeah, unbelievable.
yes, I've seen the video of that.
If you've never seen that home, it'll be on YouTube. Just look it up. It's unbelievable. It's in the Maradona documentary and stuff.
Ah, yes.
Fantastic stuff. Well, there we go. Brilliant. Once again, we've got a unanimous winner with Duncan Ferguson. By all means, have your say. Hard men to play against and hard men to place in order, but we got there. That's all for today on Match of the Day Top 10. Have your say on Twitter using the hashtag MOTDTop10. Until next time, goodbye.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
We brought you That Football Chat.
Let's get Crouch's 100 goals re-commentated.
Look at this handsome devil. He's bagged 30 this season.
And that general nonsense.
Welcome to Crouch Fest.
This is massive.
Give it up for Tom Brennan.
Yes, thank you very much.
And now, That Peter Crouch podcast has returned for a brand new series.
We're going to come back stronger. Are you up for that?
That Peter Crouch podcast.
Listen on BBC Sounds.